Firstly, the Arab Spring caught the West completely on the hop. It was unexpected. And most of their emphasis, Tunisia went relatively smoothly, but most of their emphasis was on Egypt, which of course was the central ally of the United States in the region next to Israel. And they were very anxious over what would happen if Mubarak fell. And in one sense, that's where their attention was focused. But very quickly, they also began to become aware, not least because the Saudis were pressing them on the subject, of what was happening in Bahrain and what the potential was in the Gulf if a democracy movement developed in that region. And of course, Bahrain was the weak link because the Khilafahs ruled as a minority inside a country where the majority were of a different religion, but also, of course, there was no democracy whatsoever. It was an autocracy. And there had been, over the years, constant demands for self-determination, for democracy in Bahrain. And the Saudis very quickly were pointing out to Britain and the United States. For Britain, of course, Bahrain has been a traditional ally. While during the Second World War, Britain was largely squeezed out of Saudi Arabia in terms of the oil, it retained its virtual control over Bahrain. It had created the Khilafah dynasty back in the 19th century when Bahrain was important as a staging post on the imperial routes through the Suez Canal to India. Bahrain had continued to be important because of oil. That's less the case now when the oil reserves have gone. It then became a financial centre in which Britain was centrally involved. There's a very big British expat community in Bahrain. So very quickly, at the prompting of the United States, the British were quick to come in and back the Khilafahs. And what we have seen since then was the effective crushing of the revolution in 2011 with the Saudi Arabian invasion of Bahrain. But the British supporting that to the hilt and not getting involved in criticism of either the Khilafah regime autocracy in Bahrain or the Saudis. And of course, continuing to supply the weapons of destruction, the weapons of torture, continuing to allow, up until relatively recently, former senior police people to be involved in police operations in Bahrain, and saying not a word about really atrocious human rights abuses in Bahrain and indeed elsewhere in the Gulf region.